Time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the good. The daredevil raccoon that went viral for scaling a building is released back into the wild. Get away from those people. Cutie, the critter, back on solid ground after spending nearly an entire day on a Minnesota skyscraper. He was eventually trapped on the roof. He made it to the top.
All right, next the bad. You might want to skip those free donuts at work. A new study by the Centers for Disease Control claims snacks at work can amount to an extra 1,300 calories a week. Most of the food tends to be high in sodium.
But
think about that.
Resist free food. That's the problem. No. Finally, the ugly. A teen exhausted after getting her head stuck in a truck's tailpipe. Firefighters using a power saw to free her at a music festival in Minnesota. Jeez. She said she did it to see if her head would fit inside. She was also cited for, as you might have guessed, underage drinking.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Well, that's your lesson in don't do this at home. Have a good day.
The all-important Inspector General's report is coming out.
I think it will be devastating to the higher echelon of the FBI. I think they misused and abused their power.
Earlier this year, Rosenstein threatened to subpoena the emails and the phone records of staffers on the House Intelligence Committee because the committee was being too aggressive in its probe of the Russia investigation.
You can attack me all you want. I'm used to it. I enjoy it. When it comes to attacking staff, that's when you've gone too far.
Today, the Pentagon expected to cancel upcoming military exercises with South Korea.
As President Trump was leaving Singapore, I talked with him aboard Air Force One.
I think we've done something very historic already in one way, but to me, a success is when it gets done.
The congressional baseball team will take the field tonight exactly 1 year after the shooting that nearly killed Steve Scalise.
Rarely in life do you get a chance to change history. Let's make tomorrow about comeback stories.
1, 2, 3, win! Get down in that Georgia clay and I'll find peace at the bottom of a real tall cold drink. I'm chilling with some Skinner and some...
And my kind of party, the name of the song, but as Ainsley will always say, any party is her kind of party.
That's absolutely right. Yes, there's going to be a big birthday party in D.C. today because it's the president's birthday.
Awesome stuff.
72.
The reason that I'm here, I'm sure my parents are wondering as well, is because Mr. Steve Doocy is live from Nationals Park ahead of tonight's congressional baseball game held on the 1-year anniversary of the attack on House Majority Whip Steve Scalise and, of course, other Republican lawmakers. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Good morning, Ainsley and Todd and Brian. That's right. Ainsley, you mentioned the President of the United States. It's his 72nd birthday. How's he going to spend it? Well, there's a real good possibility he's going to be here at the game at Nationals Park at 7:05. Just don't tell anybody that, but they're doing another security sweep, which is generally what they do before the president attends any particular event. And Todd, as you mentioned just a moment ago, it was 1 year ago today, just a couple of miles from where I'm sitting, that crazed gunman came out with that semi-automatic rifle and tried to kill as many Republicans as he possibly could. It was a targeted assassination attempt. Steve Scalise was desperately injured. He's going to be with us in about an hour. Actually, both teams are going to have batting practice this morning. Coming up 1 hour from right now, the Democrats are going to take the field, and then at 8 o'clock Eastern time, the Republicans will as well. We're also going to have Roger Williams, member from the great state of Texas. He and a staff member were here that day a year ago. The staff member was injured, and remember, Zach Barth, we had him on the program just a couple of days later. Even though he was shot in the leg, he went to work the next day. Also, we're going to have Ron DeSantis join us because there is a lot of other news. The IG has got a report that's going to come out a little later on today, and I would look for this town to feel like an earthquake went off.
Right. Steve, I'm getting reports that the security sweep was because of you. It's not the president, the extra security sweep. Can you confirm or deny that?
Well, you know what? They're going around the other side, too, so maybe they're checking out all the channels. I'm pretty sure the president's probably going to be here tonight.
Hey,
so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, the coach, Congressman Roger Williams, said he talked to the president a month ago, and the president said, oh, yeah, I'll be there. Right. But then when reporters asked the White House, they didn't ever get a response back. So we'll see. Is that game normally at Nationals Park, or is just because I know the shooting happened, you said a mile away. Were they just practicing there?
Yeah. They were practicing over in Alexandria, Virginia, famously, and they have had the game here at National Stadium for the last couple of years. And so tonight they're going to take the field once again. I've talked to a number of members of Congress. It is still a very raw event in their lives. There's a lot of emotion involved in it.
Right.
It's going to be a great game. Last year they raised over $1 million for Washington, D.C. area charities.
And Steve, no doubt about it, Steve Scalise's life was saved by David Bailey and Crystal Brenner, who took out the killer while
Police.
Steve Scalise was bleeding to death at second base. And if they weren't able, the Capitol Police weren't able to take him out, that guy would have wiped out maybe most of the Republican side of Congress. And I believe David Bailey is still with Steve Scalise today. He's recovered from an ankle. He got shot in the ankle.
That's right. One of the members of Congress's staff members, Zach Barth, is going to be with us in a half an hour. His life was saved by Mo Brooks of Texas, who took off his belt and applied a tourniquet to the leg. And then with Steve Scalise, luckily, keep in mind, there are a number of members of Congress who are doctors, and they leapt to his rescue, and he is alive today. And we are looking forward to talking to him live from Nationals Park in 90 minutes.
That's great. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Steve.
Steve.
We'll be checking in with you throughout the morning.
And that's an exclusive.
That's right.
Guess what's happening this afternoon?
Big day.
Yeah.
Not only the baseball game, not only President's birthday, but the IG report comes out today.
A huge document. We've all been waiting for this now. I don't want to say we've been waiting for it for 18 months, but we've known about it for 18 months, and today is the day. President's going to get a briefing earlier in the day, and then around 3 o'clock, I think, is the proposed time that we are going to be receiving the Inspector General's report. And again, keep in mind, this report is going to focus on the Clinton email scandal. We do not expect you to go into the Russia investigation, but you can believe that there are going to be overtones that most of us here on this couch and throughout the media are going to apply to the Russia investigation. In the crosshairs today, James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Loretta Lynch, and Peter Strzok.
Well, the IG has been looking into why there was so much mishandling of this information. Hillary Clinton, it was proven she violated the law. She destroyed classified information. She deleted 33,000 emails. She acid washed hard drives with bleach bit, and her aides destroyed cell phones with hammers. Many people are saying, why did she get away with all of this? And why was the exoneration letter written in May, and then they didn't interview her until July, and then 3 days later, we remember that famous press conference with James Comey when he went through all the list of all the things she'd done wrong, and at the very end said, we're not indicting her.
And did Loretta Lynch put James Comey in an impossible situation, who reacted wrongly in response because he can no longer go to the Department of Justice after Loretta Lynch goes on a plane with Bill Clinton while his wife was being investigated. So he was chairman of the Oversight Committee. We were smart enough to sign him to a lucrative deal to be a contributor here. So Jason Chaffetz providing some insight, who's also got lines into the Inspector General to give us an idea of what to expect today. Listen.
I think it will be devastating to the higher echelon of the FBI. I think they misused and abused their power. I think they were outside the normal protocols. Mr. Horowitz was unanimously confirmed by the United States Senate. He was appointed by President Obama. It should be widely accepted by anybody and everybody on both sides of the aisle as the closest that we're going to get to the truth.
It could be very embarrassing for the DOJ, for Rod Rosenstein. And the question is, could Rosenstein alter any of this information? He's the one that's going to be briefing the president, so he gets this report before, obviously, he tells the president.
What's kind of interesting is, in the middle of May, they gave the overview to the Department of Justice and to the FBI, and they said, take a look at this. And we didn't get it for another month. And people wonder, are we going to have two versions, the versions they had before that Michael Horowitz gave up? And the second one, he's going to be testifying and expanding on his 500-page document, and as well as the overview. I'm going to talk to Tom Fitton at 6:15. Unless he oversleeps, he'll be live telling us more insight into that. But there was some theatrics going on in Congress in reaction to what the president's been doing in terms of not only North Korea, but as well as tariffs.
Yeah, Bob Corker, he announced last fall he's not seeking re-election, so his term ends in January. So he is lashing out against the president, saying the GOP has become almost like a cult in its support of President Trump. Listen to this.
We're in a strange place. I mean, it's almost, it's becoming a cultish thing, isn't it? It's not a good place for any party to end up with a cult-like situation as it relates to a president that happens to be purportedly of the same party.
So the senator who at one point was going to be Secretary of State, was in the running to be Secretary of State as well as Vice President, has been at times a critic of President Trump, but they are on speaking terms now. He says this morning, he said, what I'm trying to get across is leadership is blocking a vote on a bill that he has that says the president in his negotiations with tariffs should include Congress, that according to Section 232. And when he was telling the leadership he wanted to do that, they said, why are we going to upset the president?
Yeah.
We're on the same party. Why are we going to upset the president?
So they're not allowing the vote on that.
Right.
Yeah, he's upset about it. And President Trump's son, Don Jr., he tweeted this: not a cult at all. Maybe they just like someone who actually fights, not just someone who talks about it and then folds every time like they've seen for decades. Maybe they enjoy having a conservative at the helm who likes to actually win.
And somebody who was talking about it yesterday was Rush Limbaugh. Here's what he said, sort of taking down Bob Corker. Take a listen.
Senator Corker, this isn't a cult by any stretch of the imagination. Donald Trump does not have a Svengali hold on these people. In fact, Senator, you want to know the truth? Donald Trump is not the cause of all this. Donald Trump is the beneficiary. Donald Trump had the ability to understand where a majority of Republican voters were and what they were thinking and how fed up they were about certain things. And Donald Trump came along and he spoke their language. He validated what they were thinking, and he has become their champion because nobody else in your party stepped up.
So that is Rush Limbaugh. If we have a chance, we should book Don Jr.
I think that would work. Maybe like about 8 o'clock today?
Yeah, let's put him on at 8 o'clock. A quick thing, I would also say this. I don't remember many Democrats going against President Obama. And I don't think it's necessarily bad to go with President Trump. His ratings now are above where President Obama's were at this point in his first administration. So politically, maybe philosophically, they just agree. Senator Bob Corker's being true to his school. He's saying, I want to vote in this, just like I want to be able to vote on North Korea when we finally get a treaty in front of us.
Well, look what happened in South Carolina. Mark Sanford lost his seat. I mean, he's been a politician in that state for so long and lost it because he was against the president. The president's approval rating, the only other president that's had this approval rating higher than this at this point in the presidency was President Bush after 9/11.
Right. By the way, go ahead.
I was going to say, could I do the awkward toss to Jillian today? I've been dreaming about it. Somebody who's not part of a cult, Jillian Mealy.
Oh, I am definitely
that
not.
we know of.
Thank you very much. That you know of,
Right,
exactly.
Brian's awkward tosses too.
It was wonderful. Thank you very much. So let's start with the Fox News alert and get you caught up on this story. Overnight, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arriving in Beijing, China. It comes on the heels of his trip to South Korea, where he briefed his counterparts about the new agreement with Kim Jong-un. Today, the Pentagon is expected to cancel upcoming military exercises with South Korea. President Trump says North Korea is no longer a nuclear threat. A manhunt is underway this morning after 4 cars are shot near a busy airport. Bullets hitting windshields and driver's side doors on a highway just outside Seattle-Tacoma International Airport.
We're all still standing, you know, we're still alive.
Well, incredibly, no one was hurt. Washington State Police believe the shooter was positioned just off the highway before getting away. Sarah Sanders is shooting down rumors she's considering leaving the White House. The press secretary tweeting, quote, "Does CBS News know something I don't about my plans and my future? I was at my daughter's year-end kindergarten event and they ran a story about my, quote, plans to leave the White House without even talking to me. I love my job and I'm honored to work for the President of the United States." The CBS report also claims Deputy Press Secretary Raj Shah has considered leaving. Fox News has learned both Sanders and Shah are weighing future options. That's Look Your Headlines. I'll send it back to you.
Right.
Yeah, pick up the phone and ask her.
Right.
All right. Thanks, Jillian.
Isn't that amazing? They do this whole report and they don't even confirm it with her.
Right.
All right. Nancy Pelosi hopes for a blue wave in the midterms, of course, but one Democratic candidate says he won't follow her lead.
Congressman Hill opened his campaign by attacking me, knowing full well that I've said from day one that I won't vote for Nancy Pelosi. We're better than that. The truth is,
The new campaign ad Nancy is not going to like.
Plus, one liberal city sounding the alarm on climate change, saying it will be worse than World War II until you hear their solution. I can't wait. I'm going to wait here.
Come on, girl.
Today, the blockbuster watchdog report on the FBI's handling of the Clinton email probe to be released. Our next guest predicts this will not be good news for James Comey and other high-ranking FBI members of their leadership, past and present. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton has played a leading role in uncovering the Clinton email scandal and joins us now with more. Tom, a couple of things that you think that'll come out today that even you didn't know about are?
Oh, I'm sure we're going to get details about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and their text messages because the IG has reviewed all those text messages. We're going to find out more about the FBI and the DOJ and the politicization of the Clinton email scandal. For instance, Loretta Lynch said that her meeting with Bill Clinton cast a cloud over the email investigation. My guess is the IG is going to agree with her.
Yeah, and she should have recused herself. Now, James Comey comes out, and the Clinton people will always tell you he hurt us so much and exonerated us in the end with that press conference. You have a different take on James Comey coming out, listing everything Hillary did wrong, and then saying there's no reason to pursue it criminally. What do you think?
Well, James Comey and the leadership of the FBI, along with the DOJ, knew that the investigation was wired. They had long decided not to prosecute Hillary Clinton. We're just going through the motions. So rather than justify and defend that corrupt investigation, they tried to distract from that by throwing Hillary Clinton under the bus a little bit. So she'll be vindicated a little bit, but in the end, we'll have confirmation. The Clinton email investigation really destroyed the credibility of the Department of Justice and the FBI. You know, and recall, the individuals involved in this email investigation: Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Page. Peter Strzok was the leading FBI agent on the Clinton email investigation. All concurrently were going after Donald Trump. So you can't say they did the wrong thing on Hillary, and I don't think it's credible to say they did the right thing with respect to targeting the Trump campaign and all the spying and such.
We know McCabe's up to his neck with a criminal referral and problems. Who else do you think could be looking at a criminal referral from the Horowitz investigation?
Well, that's the big question. We know James Comey's already under investigation for his mishandling of Donald Trump's FBI files. The question is, did the obstruction rise to the level of a crime? As we know, with Peter Strzok targeting Donald Trump and protecting Hillary Clinton in those text messages, and Comey breaking the rules in order to distract from FBI corruption in the Clinton investigation.
We should get it this afternoon. There'll be an overview, and then there's going to be the 500 pages. A lot of this stuff, even for people like you, since there's so many redactions, is going to be brand new.
That's right. And it's going to be quickly, Brian, a vindication for President Trump, because we're going to see that Comey did so many terrible things while FBI director, and it confirms and reconfirms why he should have been fired.
Well, Rod Rosenstein put it in a letter and recommended it. That got buried. Tom Fitton, thanks so much. We'll have you on pretty much every day to evaluate this. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Brian. You're welcome.
All right, coming up straight ahead, Congress battling it out over immigration. And we've just learned the latest draft could include the biggest amnesty deal ever. Plus, our next guest, a professor, was so fed up with liberalism on campus, he quit. That's why we're zooming out, giving the idea that he's quitting.
Quick headlines now. The latest GOP immigration deal could potentially be the biggest amnesty for illegals in U.S. history. A leaked draft by House Speaker Paul Ryan, obtained by Breitbart, says the deal could allow nearly 3.5 million docket-enrolled and eligible illegals to enter the U.S. as long as they meet educational, work, and criminal requirements. And border agents nab 159 illegals found in stash houses in the Texas Rio Grande Valley area. Agents say the illegals, including children, are from Mexico and Central America. They all face deportation. Ainsley, over to you.
Thank you so much. Well, Paul Levy is a trustee of the University of Pennsylvania, and he decided to resign in protest of the school's treatment to another professor, Amy Wax. She is a law professor who lost her first-year classes, there's her picture, after speaking out about black student performance. In a new op-ed about his resignation, Levy says this points to a bigger problem across college campuses, writing, quote, "Nobody in the university community has an incentive to speak out, and everyone seems afraid to do so. Professors Professors fear retaliation. Students worry about social ostracism. Well, Paul Levy, the professor, joins us now to explain. Professor, thank you for being with us.
Thanks. I'm not a professor.
You're not a professor. Okay,
No.
you were on the board at UPenn.
I was on the board.
Overseer of its law school as well.
I was on the law school board of overseers and the university board. I was a full trustee, and then I became a trustee emeritus. So I resigned.
Well, I apologize. So
That's
you
okay.
resigned. Why?
I resigned because I thought Professor Wax was poorly treated. She expressed an opinion about the performance of her black students, and this became a catalyst for disciplinary action. And it struck me as unfair. There's an unwillingness at the law school. I think there's an unwillingness at universities generally lately to entertain competing ideas. She was basically referring to the performance of affirmative action students. Okay, her view, her experience was that they hadn't done particularly well over the years. Right, and that's what she said.
Who did she say that to?
She said it to a black professor at Brown University, Glenn Lowry, who agreed with her. This is in the public record. It's a blog. You can go look at it. And it's not about whether one agrees with her about affirmative action. It's about her ability to express a point of view, to have an open intellectual debate on a campus about a serious social issue. I can see people being genuinely supportive for good reason of affirmative action, and I can see people taking an opposite view.
What do you say to the critics? Because the critics would say it's offensive, it's negative.
Well, first of all, you have to put it in the context. If you read Amy Wax's book called Race, Wrongs, and Remedies, which it's a spectacular book, it's very caring. She lays out any number of arguments about affirmative action, and she talks quite directly about how
to fix the problems, what the remedies are?
The problems, the problems are mostly intractable, but she talks about the problems in a way that is caring.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no scintilla of a suggestion of racism on her part.
So
she's a deeply caring intellectual.
Uh-huh.
She has received university teaching awards from the university.
Mm-hmm.
People said that perhaps there was prejudice in her grading system, except they didn't report the fact that her exam for years has been a multiple choice exam graded by a computer. She has nothing to do with the grading of it. So people are not going to be mistreated in the grading.
I see. We did ask for a comment from the school, and the school says the professor, Amy Wax, has not been sanctioned in any way, because you write in the op-ed that she lost a freshman class because of it. They say that's not true. This was a curricular decision, they said. The professor's status, tenure, and seniority on the faculty remain the same. She is scheduled to teach a full load of elective courses next year, as the majority of our tenured faculty do. What's your response?
That's a falsehood. I mean, there's no experience in decades, ever, of a teacher being deprived of teaching privileges because students would perhaps feel uncomfortable in that professor's class. It's just not true. All right, this was not an accommodation to scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
This was done specifically because the university said, the law school said, that first-year students did not have a choice in taking civil procedure, and consequently, they didn't want them to feel uncomfortable in the classroom, okay? Well, I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable for any reason, if that's possible. But we live in a world that's contentious. We live in a world that has, any number of important, difficult issues on which people differ.
Okay. Paul Levy, thank you so much. You say other professors or other individuals on campuses are scared to speak out. So you can read your op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. Thank you for joining us and being with us.
You're very welcome.
We are hours away from the first pitch of tonight's congressional baseball game. Steve is live there at Nationals Park with GOP team manager Congressman Roger Williams and his staffer who survived last year's shooting. They're going to talk to us coming up next. Plus, one liberal city sounding the alarm on climate change, saying it will be worse than World War II. Wait until you hear their solution for it. But first, we want to wish a happy birthday to the president, to the 45th president of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. He is 72 years old today. Happy birthday.
God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota.
The Congressional Baseball Team is ready to take the field tonight, exactly 1 year after the shooting that nearly killed Steve Scalise.
Wow, it's going to be emotional. The House Majority Whip suffered life-threatening injuries and is still in the process of building himself up after a left-wing activist opened up fire on his team.
A Capitol Police officer, an aide, and a lobbyist were also hurt. Scalise is expected, though, to start at second base at Nationals Park in Washington. How awesome is that?
That's great. The GOP's team manager and coach, Texas Representative Roger Williams, and his staffer, Zach Barth, who was shot during practice last year. They are live, as you can see, with Steve at Nationals Park. Steve?
All right, Ainsley, thank you very much. Roger, Zach, thanks for coming early. I know batting practice for y'all starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time. How hard is it to put on your cleats today, Roger, knowing what happened a year ago?
Well, we think about it, but it actually was fun to put the cleats on today, knowing what happened a year ago. It just seemed like it was yesterday, but here we are at the ballpark, ready to play baseball, and it's an interesting moment because all of us reflect back on what happened last year. It's affected all of us in certain ways.
You were, when the guy started shooting over in Alexandria, he was over by the third base dugout. And you, Zach, were out in the outfield doing what?
I was out there just kind of shagging balls and helping out with the practice. It's never something you expect.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what happened?
So, I hear this loud crack and, everything's going through your mind. And I think to myself, what is this? But then I hear somebody say, shooter, he's got a gun, run. And I can, see him the whole time. So I try to, put the most distance between myself and him as possible.
So you did what? You ran?
Yeah, so I ran, but then I had nowhere to go. I ran to the right field corner, just got onto
You were wide open there.
I was wide open, got onto all fours, and then he started shooting at me. He probably shot at me, 5-10 times, and got me in the leg.
Right.
And at that point, I decided, he's getting pretty close. I'm not going to let him keep taking shots at me. So I ran down to the dugout.
And when you got to the dugout, you were bleeding badly, and another member of Congress took off his belt.
Right, I was already in the dugout, and Mo Brooks took
You jumped in the dugout, and you messed up your ankle.
Messed up my ankle, and Mo Brooks was there. He took his belt off. Jeff Flake was across from me, and Jeff helped put the belt on his leg. We were doing everything we could. And the guys firing at everybody, so everybody reacted appropriately. It was everybody did their thing.
They did, and then while you are tending to Zach, who actually jumped into your arms, and you're in that dugout right there, over there was Steve Scalise, and he was down. He was pinned down, and you guys couldn't get to him.
We couldn't get to him. We knew he was down, and it was happening so fast. A lot of prayers were going on, but finally, when it finally stopped, Brad Winstrup was able to get out to him and begin to save his life.
And thank goodness the Capitol Police were there.
Yeah, totally. If they hadn't been there, it would have been a different story.
And they were there because Steve Scalise is a member of leadership. And had a member of leadership not been there, this would have been a much different story.
Well, the day before, there was no leadership there, so we had no security just the day before.
Right. And Zach, you and I were talking a little while ago. It was a political assassination attempt because what did the guy say to some passerby?
Yeah, absolutely. He asked them, I think it was Jeff Duncan, he asked them if these are Republicans practicing. And you look at the rhetoric that he was spewing online, he was there to kill Republicans.
Terrible. All right, fast forward to today. Today is this has been going on since 1909.
Right.
I know it's a bitter rivalry. Actually, I'm being funny because this is the one partisan issue in Washington that is fun for people. People love to come to this game.
Well, it's a big deal. And last year we had about 30,000 people here. Well, sure we'll have about the same amount tonight. The game is pretty close to being even over all this period of time.
Yeah.
And we've been working out since middle of April every morning from 6 to 8 o'clock. And we're ready to go. We're going to win the ball game.
You did invite the President of the United States. Is he going to come?
Well, I don't know. He's a busy man. Everybody'd love to have the President come, but I don't know if he's coming or not.
Let me ask you just real quickly, emotionally, it's been 1 year. If something like that happened to me, where you're pinned down by a gunman who's shooting 60 rounds for over 10 minutes, you ever wake up in the middle of the night, right back there?
Well, we all have a different story. I think about it a lot. It's affected me. When I hear a loud noise, I do jump a little bit.
Last week,
it affected me when a loud noise went off, and we were even in a hearing, and the gavel went down, and I went down with it. Yeah. And but I don't profess, as I tell people, I'm not a warrior. I just was there, but it's affected all of our lives in one way or another.
Absolutely, and in this last year as well, since the shooting, you guys were on that train to the Greenbrier, the Republican retreat that hit the garbage truck, and immediately people thought it was terrorism aimed at the Republicans again.
Well, that's exactly right, and when you hit a train or when you hit a truck in the middle of the road with a train going 70 miles an hour, that's another thing that makes you wonder if you're in the right place at the right time.
The day after he was shot, Congressman, he went back to work.
Yes.
He's a special kid.
No, this is a special young man, and you know, I've told the story in that dugout, as I told you earlier. We had 24-year-old Zach, we had 12-year-old Jack Barton, we had 68-year-old Roger Williams, and even those generations, we have that bond now together that we'll never leave, that we were under fire, we stayed together, God was with us, and he took care of us.
Well, it's a pleasure. Good luck tonight.
Thank you a lot.
Congressman.
Thank you.
Zach, now get back to work. All right. Ainsley, Brian, Todd, back to you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Gosh. Our hearts are with all of them, those stories, but I'm so glad everyone's okay now.
Yeah, Steve Scalia's still walking with crutches, and he'll be on with us a little bit later. Jillian Milley's here. Jillian, you got the news?
Yes, I do, and I have some breaking news, a Fox News alert to get to, so let's get you caught up here. Just moments ago, a terror attack stopped in Germany. A Tunisian man charged with plotting an attack with a deadly poison. Police stopping the attack after finding ricin inside the suspect's apartment in Cologne. Prosecutors currently have no evidence of a connection with an extremist organization. Exposure to ricin causes organ failure and could kill someone within 48 hours. We will keep you posted when we get new information. The wife of a police officer is begging for prayers as her husband fights for his life.
My boys need a daddy, and I need my husband. And this community needs a real hero.
Orlando police officer Kevin Valencia is in a coma after being shot in the head during a standoff. The gunman killed 4 children before taking his own life. A GoFundMe page is raising money for Officer Valencia's family. He has 2 young kids and started dating his wife when they were just 12 years old. The Berkeley City Council declaring a climate emergency, saying it holds more significance than World War II. The California city thinks the solution includes renewable energy infrastructure and population control. The city says residents should also avoid consumerism and narcissism. They want people to come together like they did in the war to launch a political movement to save the environment. A Democrat running for the House is making sure voters know he won't support Nancy Pelosi.
Congressman Hill opened his campaign by attacking me, knowing full well that I've said from day one that I won't vote for Nancy Pelosi. We're better than that. The truth is...
The ads coming amid attacks by Republican U.S. Representative French Hill. Clark Tucker is trying to unseat him in Arkansas. Let's look at your headlines. I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Jillian. All right, let's hand it over to Janice, who has some weather for us. Hey, Janice.
Hello, good morning. We had some storms, some severe storms across the interior Northeast today. Things are clearing up, but yes, even the report of a tornado in parts of Pennsylvania. There's your future radar, so looking good for the U.S. Open in the Hamptons. We do have the potential for stronger storms across the northern plains today. Large hail, damaging winds, flash flooding is possible, isolated tornadoes too. And let's take a look. This is Tropical Storm Bud. This was a hurricane at one point. Yes, it's Bud. And what's that? As in Budweiser. Yeah, weakening Bud right now, moving up towards the Baja of California. It is going to bring some much needed relief to the Southwest. And we love Buds for much needed relief.
Todd had a good question. Is it a Bud Light or is it a full Bud?
It was a full Bud and now it's a Bud Light as it is weakening.
All right, thanks, Janice.
Thanks, Jess.
All right, Janice. We'll see you outside.
Democratic Senator Cory Booker has a message for all of us.
I'm telling you right now, if this country hasn't broken your heart, you don't love her enough. If you're not deeply disturbed by what's coming, you got to check your own love.
Janet.
Does that sound like he's running for president? Question mark.
All right. Plus, James Comey expecting to be slammed for insubordination in the DOJ's Inspector General report. But Judge Napolitano usually stands by a flag painting and says, not so fast.
Welcome back. That bombshell IG report expected to be released today.
It reportedly hits James Comey's leadership, ripping his alleged insubordination. A focus of our next guest's fears misses the real concerns about the FBI's handling of Hillary's email probe.
All right, so maybe it's just the beginning. Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Napolitano, once standing downstairs, now upstairs. Judge, your thoughts about what you're looking for, most intrigued about this release?
All right, so of course, we haven't seen it. We don't know what's in there. Some of our colleagues in D.C. have reported little snippets of leaks. And the leak thus far is that Comey's going to be slammed for insubordination, meaning disobeying the orders of his superiors, to which I say, big deal. We are looking for unlawful activity, and we're looking for serious errors of judgment. Example, did they exonerate Hillary because they didn't like Donald Trump? Did they exonerate Hillary because they thought she'd win and she'd be their boss? Did they exonerate Hillary because they wanted to help her win? Or did they exonerate Hillary because they really believed there was no case there? The fourth of these is not a serious argument. We know there was a case there. So that's the type of thing we're looking at. Why did Jim Comey exonerate Hillary when it's not the job of the FBI director to do so? It's the job of the FBI director to pass evidence over to the prosecutors in the DOJ, and they decide whether to try the case or to exonerate. What role did McCabe play? Did he make decisions for political reasons? Did he make decisions and not tell Jim Comey? These are the things that we're looking for.
It could be very embarrassing for the DOJ. Is there a chance that Rod Rosenstein, who's going to read this report, already has, because he's going to be briefing the president before it's released to the public, is there a chance he could alter the information?
That would be horrific if that happened. And I can't imagine that anybody would do that could think that they could get away with it, because the author of the report
is Horowitz. What kind of a guy is he?
A respected guy, appointed to that position by President George W. Bush and reappointed by President Barack Obama. He's going to testify about it. He'll know if somebody altered his report.
But Judge, even if there is something that rises to the level of criminality, the IG is not the individual that prosecutes.
Correct.
There would still need to be another body that prosecutes. Which body would that be? Because we've got Sessions and Rosenstein, 1 and 2 at the Justice Department.
It would have to pass through them, and it's a good question, Todd, and from them to the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, who is the chief federal prosecutor and who's examining Andrew McCabe and whether or not he should be prosecuted for lying under oath.
Are we going to get to unwind what Bruce Orr did, what Peter Strzok did, what Lisa Page did?
I hope so, because if not, we will never know the answer unless one of them is tried for something and the answer comes out at the time of the litigation.
They've seen the unredacted. They've seen the unredacted.
A lot of people have seen this stuff so far. Because one thing the IG does that nobody else does, he says, hey, Mr. Kilmeade, here's the quote, if you were in the report, here's the quote from you. I want to make sure we quoted you correctly, and you can change it if it was an incorrect quote. You can't change it because you don't like what you said. That's what's taken so long. He's done that for almost everybody in the report, from Comey to these other folks.
So they know what's coming if they got that question.
Yes, the people that are going to be ripped apart are preparing for it.
Right. All right, some are hiding in the woods, hoping not to get called.
Yes.
Judge Napolitano, I look forward to you
Judge.
working 25 hours today. Thank you, Brian.
Like the president.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Judge. It's 10 minutes till the top of the hour. We are celebrating the Army's 243rd birthday today. Here's the Army Band performing Where the Stars, Stripes, and Eagles Fly.
Where the stars and stripes and an eagle fly.
And these are the moments when we shine, when we know we've done something right. Yeah, that's when America's beautiful.
How great are they? Fantastic.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's the Army Band. They've been on our show a bunch. We love them. So good. Mwah. Okay, they're performing That's When America's Beautiful, and they're here to help us celebrate the Army's 243rd birthday.
Applause for that. The theme this year, all about honoring our Army heroes from World War I to present day.
Right, and now here we are on the present day with Colonel Mark Biger. He is the West Point Chief of Staff. Right to my left with him are some West Point cadets and some other soldiers, including Private First Class Alexis Hicks. Welcome, Private.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations to all of you. Thanks so much for serving. Colonel, what do you think? What are your thoughts right now on the Army's 243rd birthday? What does it mean to you?
Well, sir, what it means to all of us is it's an opportunity to celebrate our service to the Army, to celebrate our service to this great nation, to our great nation, and to celebrate the service of all of our veterans that have come before us.
All right, Private First Class Alexis Hicks is in the middle. Alexis, what does this day mean for you, and what does the flag mean for you?
It's a great day to celebrate, and it gives us time to think about the people who served prior to us, and then the amount of time that came far,
Yeah.
Got a rich history,
Yes.
a lot of winning,
Rich
a lot of winning.
Yes.
Quickly, Cadet, what's it like being at West Point?
Yes, sir. It's a long day every day. We wake up early, and then towards the end of the afternoon, we start playing sports, and we get all our studies in, all our sports, and really just do our best to prepare.
Well, today is like no other day. It's your birthday, so but the Army's is. So if you wouldn't mind, Private First Class Hicks or Colonel, could you cut the cake with the sword? That's the only
How do
reason
you
to bring a
decide who
sword.
cuts the cake?
We do.
Some branches, it's the oldest or the youngest, and okay.
Oh my goodness. Do I stand back?
Wow.
All right. 1, 2.
And that's a fun time. It's harder to get through. We want to thank the Cake Boss for this, and of course, we want to thank the Army and everyone who has served our great nation. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
And I have a prediction. All you cadets are getting cake for breakfast. All right, that's it. Happy birthday, guys. Thanks for being the finest fighting force in the world. All right? All right. Meanwhile, we're going to be celebrating that and Flag Day and the President's birthday all day. Coming up, Candace Owens will be with us. Donald Trump Jr. will be with us. And House Majority Whip Steve Scalise exclusively with us from the field at that stadium with Steve Ducey. All right, now let's eat.